Maybe somebody you're dating seems to pull away all of a sudden and even completely without warning, which can be especially confusing if this starts to take place when everything felt like it was already going exceptionally well. And now, all of a sudden, they've completely pulled away. Well, there are 4 core things that will cause a fearful avoidant to pull away faster than anything and even leave a relationship before you even understand what went wrong. So in today's video, I'm going to break down 4 of the top fearful avoidant attachment style triggers in relationships that will cause them to head for the hills so that you can better understand these if they are for you and you are a fearful avoidant listening, or if you are the partner or loved one of a fearful avoidant and want to make sure that you are not accidentally causing these things to come to the surface. Now, at the end of this video, we will also talk a little bit about how you can bypass these triggers while still communicating your needs so that you can also feel seen and heard in this relationship dynamic, and how to vet to see if the needle's moving and to understand whether or not this is the right relationship for you. If you're new to this channel, I'm so happy you're here. Hello and welcome. My name is Gibson, and I put daily videos out here on YouTube after working in private practice for more than 10 years in the field of attachment styles, dating, and psychology. And if you're not familiar with what the 4 attachment styles are, they are basically a relationship style. Every single person has one. And if you want to learn about the 4 different styles, there's a free quiz down below, or there's a little synopsis of the 4 styles so you can see what yours is or one of your loved ones. Now, these 4 triggers, when a fearful avoidant has them triggered, can absolutely cause them to feel like they just need to push somebody as far away as possible as a means of pushing the feelings associated with these triggers as far away as possible. And I think before we even go to the 4 triggers that cause fearful avoidance to really feel like they need to run, you want to understand that triggers are not the other person's fault. So if you are somebody who's dating a fearful avoidant and you accidentally cause a trigger to be tripped, it's not your fault. You are the catalyst. And of course, you could work on that in the relationship together, but you didn't cause the trigger. Okay. In other words, if you can imagine a trigger is like a big red button you pushed, you came and pushed the red button, but the red button already existed. And so while it's important to be mindful of each other's triggers in relationships and do what we can to sidestep them, they're also the responsibility of the person who's getting triggered to be able to actually rewire them. And there's so much content on this channel about how to rewire your core wounds and your triggers. And I'm not going to go into it too much in this video in particular, but just know that you're not born with these triggers. They get conditioned into you through repetition and emotion over time, which is what fires and wires neural pathways. And we can leverage our understanding of neuroplasticity and the mind to actually rewire these triggers if they are hurting us or causing us pain. So what are the 4 big triggers of a fearful avoidant? Well, the first one of the biggest ones, is the fear of betrayal. And oftentimes, this is the result of a fearful avoidant growing up in a household where there was either a lot of dishonesty or mismatching of stories, perhaps from one parent to the other parent, or even within the family system itself, or feeling like there were a lot of things that happened that caused a deep sense of betrayal. And this can range from anything related to a parent being an alcoholic, for example, where you feel like you need that parent, you need to rely on them, and perhaps one day they're nice and sweet, and another day they're deeply mean and cruel because they're drinking and they're angry. And all of those things would cause deep, deep betrayal core wounds where we feel like people's behavior is unpredictable, where we feel like we can't trust somebody. Other mentions for what could cause these core wounds are growing up in a household with a parent who's mentally unstable, perhaps because they're going through their own deep mental health issues, and where they maybe take out some of those anger or frustrations on you. And so again, as a young child, you're growing up thinking, why is this person treating me this way? And of course, that can, be sort of an umbrella for also things that are related to mental, emotional, verbal, or even physical and sexual abuse growing up. And so all of these things could create these deep, deep betrayal core wounds, which unfortunately causes a fearful avoidant attachment style as an adult to deeply feel like they need to read between the lines all the time. They're often great predictors of human behavior because they grew up having to predict their unpredictable caregivers' behaviors. And that helped them feel like they could figure out what was going to happen in their household and somehow stay safe. But of course, that makes them hypersensitive to betrayal as an adult. And if somebody has been, of course, cheated on or constantly lied to, or if you grew up in a family where that it turned out that one of your parents actually had another family. I mean, all of these things would be deeply triggering events and very painful things. And all of them would get stored because the subconscious mind stores everything as, okay, if I can't even trust my caregivers, how can I trust anybody? And so you may find that as an adult, you constantly are looking for incongruencies. You notice the moment somebody's story and their actions don't line up, or if a story was one way one day and changes the next day. Like, I often joke with fearful avoidance that they are the human lie detectors because they are hypersensitive and hyper vigilant around patterns, especially patterns of incongruency. And it's not even that it's conscious. It's not even that you're like, oh, I have to look out for incongruencies. Oftentimes it's a survival mechanism. And so it's subconscious. You naturally just notice very quickly. So, I mean, there can be benefits to that. You can really, be attuned to people and really know people and understand them deeply, but there can also be drawbacks where that can keep you in a place of constant suspicion sometimes in close relationships, or fearing letting your guard down and letting somebody in because you don't have a healthy internal trust baseline. Your trust has been fragmented and fractured because of painful past experiences. And when I say like these triggers will cause a fearful avoidant to leave a relationship, what I seriously mean is that if you feel like you can't trust somebody and you are the fearful avoidant listening, you're probably heading for the hills quite quickly, or in the very least, starting to sabotage the relationship or deeply push somebody away, because not being able to have a foundation of trust is very scary for a fearful avoidant and tends to ignite all of these old triggers and old wounds from childhood. So that's a big, big number one. Again, these aren't in a particular order, but that's one that comes up quite strongly. Another big one for a fearful avoidant is the fear of abandonment in relationships. Fearful avoidants have both that anxious and avoidant side. And most people think when they hear this, oh, but wouldn't that cause a fearful avoidant to cling to somebody? Sometimes, yes, but the vast majority of the time, a fearful avoidant attachment style, if they think they're going to be abandoned, they'll push that person away first because, again, they've often learned to deactivate over painful or scary experiences and go back to their own zone of safety and control, which is often away from other people. And human connection, deep, vulnerable connection, can feel very scary and very confronting for a fearful avoidant attachment style. I just want to say too, by the way, if you are the fearful avoidant yourself and you just want to go into, hey, how do I rewire these triggers? Again, like I mentioned earlier, you are not born with them. You can recondition them. And if you want extra support or tools for rewiring these really painful triggers before you even go into the other two, there's a course all about this fully for free that you can check out for a limited time down below. And that will give you, more than enough tools for how to actually understand how this wiring in works and how to rewire these patterns. And it's really just based on neuroplasticity, but it will help you very effectively and very quickly be able to leave these things behind. And it doesn't mean that you're suddenly going to trust everybody in a crazy way where like you trust a stranger at 2 a.m. in the dark alleyway with your wallet and banking information. Like, you can still be cautious and mindful, but you won't be coming from this constant state of fear all the time around betrayal and abandonment. And you won't have these sabotage patterns in a relationship that follow that because of those fears. Two other really big fears are the fear of being unsafe. Most fearful avoidants, when I say this, they're like, no, I don't have the fear of being unsafe. Well, you know how you can know if you have an unsafe core wound or trigger? It's if you find yourself having a very exaggerated fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response, perhaps a combination of the four. Those things come from first feeling unsafe. So if you over defend yourself really strongly in a conflict, if you flee during a conflict or try to push somebody really far away, that's a strong flight response. The first one obviously being a strong fight response. If you avoid things and leave all the bills in your drawer, don't text the person back, I mean, those are freeze responses. Those deeply avoidant mechanisms are freeze responses. Or if you people please, that's a fawn response. And that often is another trauma response because you feel unsafe, whether it's emotionally, whether it's physically, whether it's just in a situation. So please be mindful of that. And so that can be a big core wound. And again, usually it's because there was a lot of emotional instability or unsafety in your childhood or upbringing. Of course, there could be physical unsafety as well. And then the last major core wound, and again, there are other core wounds, but these are like some of the top four are, and I'm going to put them together, are being trapped or helpless. Okay. So trapped would be like you feel like there's pressure, you're in a situation where somebody's keeping you stuck or overwhelming you or trying to engulf you, right? That can be a big trapped core wound. But helpless is often the fear of relying on other people and not seeing them be able to pull through. And you'll see in both of those cases, those core wounds or triggers will often cause you to become hyper independent, to keep people at arm's length, to make sure that you don't lean in or lean on people too much, and even be scared to ask anybody for help, or for the idea of asking for help can even feel like an unknown because you're just so not used to that. And so all of these triggers, if they feel like they actually get exacerbated or pushed on in a relationship, usually will be the very top four things, really five things, because we kind of put trapped and helpless together, but the top things that will cause you to feel like, I can't stay in this relationship. I need to push this person far away because I'm so scared of feeling all these painful pre-existing wounds and patterns. And sometimes when somebody's really in emotional distress, they will push a person as far away as possible as a subconscious strategy to push the feelings that the person's bringing up or being a catalyst for as far away as possible. And that's why it's really important for us to be able to know our core triggers and wounds and be able to work through them so that we can stop accidentally sabotaging relationships. And we can also make sure that those are not things running our relationships. And again, it doesn't mean that like if you work through these wounds, that you suddenly like will just let everybody in and rely on everybody and trust everybody, even in dangerous situations. No, it means that you will have a more rational, centered, balanced approach to these things, just like a securely attached person would, where you can be cautious and you can communicate your needs and boundaries and you can vet to make sure the right people are in your life, but you're not going to constantly do relationships from this fear and woundedness of feeling like, what if I get trapped? What if I open up and I'm helpless? What if I get abandoned? What if I end up being unsafe and I have to defend myself? Or what if I get betrayed? Like that won't be this constant background noise in your internal dialogue and in the way that you live your life, and that can be so dysregulating on a daily basis. And if this is somebody in your life and you actually want to actively bypass these triggers, in other words, be able to communicate your needs to somebody without hitting these triggers or pushing those buttons, one of the best things you can do is speak into the opposite first. So, for example, if you think somebody has a betrayal core wound and there's something that you're going to do that's out of character or out of the norm, and you think their mindset could jump to betrayal, you can say something like, hey, I know this is, not what you're used to. And I just want you to know I really value loyalty and I'm here for you in this relationship, but I need to ABC. Okay. Maybe it's like you need to go away with your friends for the weekend, whatever it might be. But if you think it's something that could trigger that wound, reassure loyalty. Let the person know with transparency. Hey, I know this is out of the norm. That can be so useful. Now, I talked about this in a video about dismissive avoidance. We're going to do videos for all three attachment styles, the insecure ones at least: anxious, fearful, avoidant, and dismissive, because we don't really need to do one for secure. But if somebody has these core wounds, this isn't me saying like walk on eggshells around this person all the time. And I know that some people often think that, but the reality is that this is you just improving the quality of your communication in a way that can then improve the quality of a relationship. If you do these small things to be mindful of somebody else's triggers, which, by the way, securely attached people do this all the time in relationships. It's normal to be able to consider somebody else and be mindful of their triggers and work to communicate in a way that's mindful of people's, triggers or pain points. That's part of what interdependence is. So if you do this and then somebody doesn't show up with you and improve from their end, okay, now you're walking on eggshells if you stay. But if you're doing this and then you see that person feel at ease around you and that improves from their end as well, this is positive momentum, right? This is something we're looking for in relationships, and it's actually a necessary ingredient to get out of the power struggle stage of relationships. So by speaking into the opposite of the core wounds, it's called prefacing, and it helps us sort of get around these things that could be sensitive to people. So that's a great one for betrayal. If you have something where you're going to do something like, let's say, again, go away with your friends, and that could cause an abandonment trigger, you can say, hey, look, I'm not going anywhere in this relationship. I'm here for the future. I'm excited about where this is going. And I'm going to spend some time with my friends over the weekend, and I'll check in with you and we can FaceTime. You're speaking to the opposite. So what you would do is for each of those core wounds, speak into the opposite and then share what it is that you're needing or going to do. And the goal is that you then see that person realize, okay, wait, this isn't something where the person's abandoning me or about to betray me. They just reinforced me and validated that's not the intention. That's not what's going on here. And it allows them to have more room to respect and honor your needs that come after the prefacing statement. And in case you missed it, you can now reserve your spot and get more than a 50% early bird discount for our live relationship coach certification program. This 12-week program gives you the opportunity to build a new career, create your own thriving coaching practice, help your community, and secure your financial future full of abundance with a growing waitlist of clients. And the best part is that you get to spend a whole bunch of time with me as I teach you exclusive subconscious reprogramming tools and help you learn how to change somebody's attachment style from insecurely attached to securely attached so that you can truly help create transformation in people's lives and have a wait list of people waiting to work with you. We also have an entire business week about how to build funnels, systems, and to really build a thriving and busy practice. You can sign up using the link down below the video, and I can't wait to see you there. Now, again, there's a lot more that we can go into around this. That's all covered in some of the free course material down below if you want to check it out further. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this. Share this perhaps with somebody that could benefit. And I'm really happy you stopped by, and I will see you again soon.